I've kept this story quiet for a long time. Not because I'm ashamed of it. Not because I don't remember the details. I've kept it quiet because I still don't know what I saw. And every time I try to explain it, the words feel wrong. Too small. Too normal for something that wasn't normal at all. It happened on Memorial Day weekend. Senior year of high school. Late May. The kind of warm night where you can smell the flowers blooming and the air feels thick and heavy. 3 friends and I decided to go camping near an abandoned Cold War military base. The stories about that place were everywhere when I was growing up. I just never thought they were real. I was wrong. In my hometown, there used to be an abandoned military base. From what I've read online since then, it was used primarily during World War II and the Cold War. At one point, over 200 military families were housed there. It looked like a small community. Houses, streets, a church, a school, everything a little town needed, all behind a fence with guards and gates. The base was abandoned in 1984, and for 30 years, it was just left there, empty, decaying, slowly being eaten by the woods. Growing up, I heard every story you can imagine. Demonic cults gathering in the church at night. Top secret military experiments happening deep underground. Ghosts of soldiers who never left. Anyone who lived in my area knew about the abandoned village. It was local lore. The kind of thing older kids told younger kids around campfires to scare them. I remember my older brother coming into my room one night when I had friends over. He told us he'd been to the village. He described the church. He said there was a secret door on the floor next to the altar, and when he put his ear to it, he could hear moans and screams coming from underneath. We didn't believe him, but we wanted to. For years, my friends and I shared stories about that place. We always said that once we were old enough to drive, we'd investigate it ourselves. We never did. Not until that Memorial Day weekend. All through high school, we talked about exploring the village, but we never went through with it. 2 main reasons. First, we didn't know the exact location. We knew the general area, near the airport, but that was it. There were no GPS coordinates, no YouTube videos, no forum posts, just rumors and secondhand stories. Second, even though it was abandoned, it was still technically a military base. I had no idea what kind of trouble we'd get into if we got caught. Trespassing on federal property wasn't something I wanted on my record. But on that cool spring night in our senior year, my friend Alex came to us and said he knew where the entrance was. I didn't believe him. He said someone he knew had been there and shared the location. I was so confident he was wrong that I dared us to go. I assumed we'd drive around for an hour, find nothing, and go home. I assumed wrong. It was around 11 at night when we left. Late May, so the sun had only been down for about an hour. The sky was dark, but not fully black. The kind of darkness that feels like a blanket instead of a void. We made the 15-minute drive to the approximate area. Alex didn't seem confident. Every few seconds, he told me to pull over. I think this is it, but it was always nothing. Just trees, just fence lines, just darkness. Then we found an overgrown road. A beat-up, no trespassing sign, half hidden by a wall of trees. The sign was old, rusted, the kind of sign that's been there for decades. I started to get nervous. This was my car. My parents would kill me if anything happened. But Alex and my other friend Nick were 100% ready to keep going. They've been talking about this basically their whole lives. They weren't going to stop now. They talked me into it. I turned onto the dirt road. I turned off my headlights and let the car roll forward in darkness. The road was narrow, trees on both sides, branches scraping the sides of my car. Every shadow looked like a person standing in the woods. We came to a gate, the kind that goes up and down at a security checkpoint. No guard, no lights, no bus, just the gate blocking the road. I had to get out of the car to lift it. My hand was shaking. The metal was cold and rusted. It creaked when I pushed it up. The sound echoed through the trees. I got back in the car and drove through. The next minute or so, we started seeing furniture on both sides of the road. Beds, dressers, tables, rotting in the open air. Someone had just dumped everything here years ago and left it to decay. Then we came to a second gate. This time, Alex got out to lift it. After that gate, we were inside the village. It was a surreal feeling. After all the years of hearing about this place, I was finally there. It looked like a small neighborhood. Houses on both sides of the road. A church at the end. Street signs still standing. Sidewalks cracked and overgrown with weeds. But everything was wrong. It was like being in the Upside Down from that show on Netflix. A place that looked familiar but felt completely alien. The houses were decaying. Some looked like they'd been hit by a hurricane. Roofs caved in, walls missing, windows shattered. Others were still intact. Windows still glass. Doors still closed. The intact ones were somehow creepier. I parked in front of the church. We all got out. The first thing I noticed was that there were no cameras anywhere. No security lights. No motion sensors. Just emptiness. We started walking toward the church. The church was smaller than I expected. One room. Wooden pews overturned. Graffiti covering every wall. Names, dates, symbols I didn't recognize. The stained glass windows were mostly broken. The ones still intact were covered in grime, so thick you couldn't see through them. I remember my brother's story about the trapdoor. I walked to the altar and looked at the floor. Nothing. Just concrete. No door. No hidden handed. No sign anything had ever been there. But the air was wrong. Colder inside than outside. And it smelled like something had burned a long time ago, and the smell never left. I heard someone whisper my name. I turned around. No one was looking at me. Alex was across the room. Nick was near the door. Scott was outside, I think. I told myself it was my imagination. We left the church and started exploring the houses. Most were empty. Stripped border. Just walls and floors and the smell of mildew. But some still had furniture. Beds with mattresses rotting on top. Dressers with drawers still full of clothes. Kitchen tables with plates still on them. It looked like everyone just vanished one day. Walked out and never came back. In one house, a 2-story building with blue paint peeling off the siding, we all stopped at the same time. An unnatural sound. Not a house settling. Not an animal in the walls. Not wind through broken windows. Wood creaking. The kind of creaking you hear when someone walks across an old floor. Scott grabbed my arm. His face was pale. He'd been saying someone was watching us since we arrived. We kept telling him it was just his imagination. Then the creaking stopped. Alex shouted into the darkness. Asked if anyone was there. Silence. The creaking didn't come back. I wanted to leave. Micah was screaming at me. That feeling you get when something is wrong, but you can't explain why. Alex and Nick wanted to stay. They said we'd barely seen anything. They said we came all this way. But I was the one who drove. I told them we were leaving. We started heading for the front door. Scott was ahead of me. Nick was behind. Alex was somewhere near the back of the house. Then Scott jumped back, like someone had grabbed him. He stumbled into me. He pointed to a window on the side of the house. His finger was shaking. 3 shadows, moving on the outside wall of the house next door. Heads, human-shaped, walking in silence. I stepped closer to the window. The shadows moved. Not like reflections. Not like trees blowing in the wind. Like people, walking from one window to the next. Then they moved out of sight, into the backyard of the house we were standing in. I whispered as quietly as I could, "We need to run for the car. Now." Everyone nodded. We didn't count down. We just ran. Out the front door. Across the dirt road. Past the church. The car was parked maybe 60 feet ahead. My shoes slipped in the mud. I almost fell. Nick grabbed my arm and pulled me forward. Scott was in front. He was the fastest. He got to the car first. Then he screamed. I've never heard a sound like that before since. It wasn't a shout. It wasn't a yell. It was a scream. The kind of sound your body makes when your brain stops working. Standing next to my car was a figure. A woman. Tall. Wearing a long black dress that looked like it was rotting. The fabric was torn. Stained. Hanging off her body like it was made of shadows. She had the back door of my car open. One leg was already inside the back seat. When Scott screamed, the woman turned her head toward us. I couldn't see her face. It was too dark. Or maybe her face was the darkness. I just remember shadows where her features should have been. Hollows where I should have been. She let go of the car door. It swung closed. Then she ran. Not toward us. Toward the church. Her dress dragged through the mud. She moved faster than anyone in a rotting dress should be able to move. We didn't wait. We got in the car. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the ignition. The engine started. I slammed the gas. The dirt road was slick from rain earlier that week. I lost control. The car spun sideways. I almost crashed into a tree. I didn't stop. I straightened the wheel and kept driving. Through both gates. Back onto the paved road. I didn't turn my headlights on until we hit the highway. No one spoke for 10 minutes. Then everyone spoke at once. What was that? Who was that? Did you see her face? Did you see her run? We tried to make sense of it. The most logical explanation was that she was homeless, using the abandoned buildings as shelter. That made sense. It was the only thing that made sense. But why was she trying to get inside my car? Not to steal it. She was getting into the back seat. Like she was waiting for us. Like she expected us to drive her somewhere. And we'd walked through that village for almost an hour. We didn't see anyone. No footprints in the mud. No trash. No campfire. No signs of life. Until the very end. Until we tried to leave. I dropped everyone off at their houses. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in my room, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment she turned her head toward us. Years passed. I graduated college. Got a job. Moved away from my hometown. I told this story to my girlfriend, now my wife. She suggested we look up the village online. That's when I learned it had been torn down in 2014, the year after we were there. Growing up, there was almost nothing about the place on the internet. No articles, no photos, no forum posts. That added to the mystery, made it feel like a secret only the locals knew. But now there are pages and pages of information. History articles, drone footage, old photos of families who live there, and forum posts from other people who went there. Most of them talk about the same things: the silence, the decay, the feeling of being watched. But some of them mention the woman in black. Not many, but enough. I'm just glad we left when we did. Glad Scott screamed when he saw her. 10 seconds later, and that car door would have been closed. Last Memorial Day weekend, my phone rang. It was Alex. We don't talk much anymore. Lives in different states. But he called me, and I could tell from his voice that something was wrong. He said he'd been driving near the old base, the land where the village used to be. It's all clear now, just grass and trees. You wouldn't even know anything was ever there. He said he stopped on the side of the road to answer a work call. When he looked up, he saw someone standing at the tree line. A woman, tall, dark dress, just standing there, not moving, not walking toward him, not walking away, just watching. He didn't finish his work call. He hung up. He drove away. He called me instead of the police because he knew no one would believe him. I believed him. I've told myself 100 times that it was just squatters, people with nowhere else to go, people who saw an abandoned village and made it their home. But squatters don't wear rotting black dresses. Squatters don't try to get into a stranger's car. Squatters don't stand at the tree line of a demolished village years later, waiting for someone to stop. I don't know what I saw that night. I don't know what Alex saw last year. But I know one thing for sure. I'm never going camping on Memorial Day weekend again. And every time I see a dirt road with a no trespassing sign, I keep driving. I don't slow down. I don't look back. Because something looked back at me. Something that should have been abandoned with that village. And I think it's still waiting. Waiting for someone else to park in front of that church. This story is fictional. All characters and events are imaginary. Never enter abandoned or trespassed properties. Always respect private property and local laws. Subscribe and follow for more true horror stories.